January 8, 2019 County Council meeting to order, and we will start by honoring our country with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This being a new year, our first item on the agenda today would be election of officers. So,
I'll make a motion that if it's permissible with Chad, to leave the officers as they is.
I'll second that.
so we have a motion for the chair and the vice chair to remain with myself and Chad, and we have a second. Are there any other nominations for the chair? And ask for a motion to close nominations.
Close the nominations, please.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, the nominations are closed. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. And the offices will stay the way they are. So that was easy, or it was quick at least. Next thing on the agenda then will be Sheriff Gatton, please. Do I have it wrong?
Be careful.
Did everyone have a chance to look at what I sent, or do you need a copy of what I sent?
I have a copy, but I'm not there to.
Somebody need a copy? Is that yours?
I'm good. I've read it.
I'll take a copy. Or Jason, I've read it, but I want to have it in front of me. That's good.
Okay, good morning. I'm Mark Gatton, Sheriff of Whitley County. I'd sent a packet over requesting a new deputy position. I'd attached some information with it to help support it. I know it's a kind of an odd request being January of the year after we just did budgets at the end of last year. One of the main reasons we've been having trouble finding good applicants. The last two times we've had really good applicants and have hired what we considered qualified or certified police officers through the state of Indiana already. With hiring somebody with experience compared to somebody with no law enforcement previous experience, it shows that we can save quite a bit of money. The first page, if we would, Chief Deputy Spencer, where do you go? You want to come up and talk about what you compiled for me on the savings, please?
Morning. What I used was a factual basis according to this year, since it's going to be 2019. Used what we call as a field training program as far as a 6-month program compared to a 6-week program. The 6-month program basically gives somebody green, somebody coming in that has no experience, no law enforcement, no academy. Somebody with a 6-week program, roughly we can get by somebody that's certified, somebody that's got years of service in, especially somebody coming from this community, somebody that's trained in how this process works as far as the arrest, the booking, the computer work, e-tickets, citations, crash reports, everything else involved in this car. Mapping is a big deal. So what we did is we compiled a 6-month compared to a 6-week training program for that person using 2019 wages, 2019 hours. Calculated the hourly wage for a person on a starting salary compared to a full merit officer, and when combining those totals, on your back, I don't know how your back first, but on the back page it breaks it down. Roughly items 1 through 4 broke down on page 4, but 1 through 4 are just items, the rough cost of what it takes to send somebody down that route for 16 weeks. Fuel, figured that at half because we're fueling up here at a rate. Your meals, which the academy doesn't cover, roughly about $2,100 to send somebody down there, plus their wages that they're working because they get overtime, or a straight rate upon their 37.5 week. A 6-week program with a training partner as a full merit officer In a 6-week combined period is around $12,166, roughly using 2019 wages. A FTO with 6-month FTO program is going to run about $50,765, and that's calculating both employees being busy and tied up and not being separated out in the county where they can both work independently. This is a combined effort, and that's why that figure is $50,000. What we could save on that by hiring a certified officer is roughly about a $40,000 savings, give or take, depending on the length of the training program on each side of that. And that's figured on the wages of both combined persons being, because that FTO has that responsibility of that person. Either they're in the car with them, either riding, or they're driving that FTO for a certain amount of time. So that's what I came up with, using 2019 wages, hours, and a 4-shift rotation for a 4-week or 6-week and a 6-week.
Then on top of that, towards the end of last year, Judge Fahl had come over and requested more staffing because of the increased workload his department is seeing. One of the duties of the Sheriff's Department is to be a servant of the court. So his increased workload, or his staff's increased workload, also flows to us, whether it doesn't matter what department arrests an individual, they come into the Sheriff's Department. That individual either needs taken to court then, or possibly serve civil process later, or picked up on a warrant later. So if you can keep that in mind. Of course, that also constitutes more transports from other facilities if need be. But did everybody get a chance to look at the populations that I sent? The ones I used were the estimated ones, not from a census that's been recently, but they were estimated in 2017. And then with the study, it shows that Whitley County needs 21.16 officers, and we are currently at 17. So what I'm requesting is the salary of $53,183 plus benefits. Angie helped me with this. Would be $78,305. PERF wasn't figured in because they're under a different pension than PERF, and the council, you pay that in a different lump sum every year. I've spoke with Jana. The Lowit has enough in it, and with projected 2019s will also have enough in to cover it. The exact numbers you'd have to ask Jana, but it can sustain another deputy.
Sheriff Gatton, for the new members, Lowit is?
Lowit, local option income tax.
Okay.
We kind of think of it more as a public safety
Okay.
tax. I'm sorry.
Sheriff, is your plan as you're presenting it then to pay for that additional position every year out of the Lowit funds, the same as the additional positions you added 2 years ago?
Yes.
So what part of it then would come from county general? Or is the total amount for benefit package and everything projected to cover? Is that what you're asking, that comes out of the Lowit?
I don't know if can the benefits be paid, Jana, out of Lowit?
They can be, but normally when they've approved it in the past, the group insurance and stuff like that, like on Medicare, would come out of the commissioner's budget.
Okay. That's the way I would propose it, that his salary or her salary would be paid out of Lowit, and then benefits paid as other employees are.
All this proposed changing fit into the possibility that we might get smart enough to go to one dispatch
No,
system.
this is another issue. This is a whole different form.
Two different issues.
I know, I'm just
I'm sorry.
but if we did, how would that affect what you're asking to do? Or
For
would-
more officers, no. We're still going to need as many officers out in the county.
I understand that, but I just wanted to bring.
Okay.
Do you have any projected retirements, resignations?
Not set in stone. I've been tentatively told of two that will be approximately about 3.5 years from now. But with the way things are changing, I wasn't expecting one to leave mid last year either and decide law enforcement wasn't for them. So
Mark, you got the 3 filled that we allowed you to get for this upcoming years. Have you got the 3 that were approved?
you mean
filled?
confinement and everything?
Yes.
No, confinement closes We opened it once, we didn't get very many qualified apps, so we reopened it. It closes January 11th, I think this Friday again, so. But the deputies that I put in here the one deputy that you approved, yes, is one of those I said will be given a conditional offer of employment.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to see, since we got this kind of late, I would like to have the sheriff bring it back next month. Gives us time to kind of go over it, think about it a little bit, see how the impact's going to be as far as the upcoming budget and everything, so.
Do you want me to talk about this, or just so you have an idea?
Yeah, I appreciate what you have to say, and I think Jana has some stuff she wants to add to it for the information.
And I can send this to all of you, but just for a little extra information, the cash balance of public safety as of yesterday is $713,132. That's what's sitting in the cash balance. The distribution that we are receiving this year that was certified by the state is $1,605,882. And the whole budget for 2019 that you guys adopted was $1,578,575. So I'll send this stuff to you guys, but yes, it will be able to sustain another deputy position. But obviously,
well, that's not a glaring margin between what we received and what our budget was, though. And
right.
In order, I think we're pretty tight on that as far as making sure that we keep money available for emergencies that come up in the county general. So that's not a wide margin as I would see it. But you're exactly right on the LOIT funds that are available, and I appreciate the fact that you're proposing to take the money out of that. Do you have any issues or shortcomings, George, as far as where the benefit packages would come from and how we would make up that difference?
No, I think we've got a margin, a good enough margin on that with our trust fund. Our trust fund right now, with the health insurance, we paid 2 payments out of our trust fund for our health insurance right now, which is, our people are doing great with their wellness programs. So that won't be an issue. I really don't see an issue with that. But I would like to say that Sheriff Gatton did bring that to the commissioners yesterday. We looked at that and did give a favorable pass.
A favorable pass on the position?
The position.
Sheriff Gatton, do you believe that we will lose one of these candidates if we don't act until February?
I can't say that we will or won't. I know some of them are actively looking at other departments also, yes.
Well, I guess I have a request. I don't know if that was in the form of a motion or not. I have a request that we put this back for a month. What's the board's feelings? Either to make that a motion or other suggestions or conversation about the position.
I'll put it in form of a motion. I make a motion that we put this back for a month and have the sheriff bring it to us back in February. Due to the fact we didn't get it quick enough, we hadn't had time to resource it, to really look at it.
And then we've got enough funds to project for the next year. There's no way to look farther out if we're still going to be all right on money for the extra position.
Well, that LOIT account usually is healthy enough that there's quite a bit of money in it. It's just, I think we have to keep an eye on. 2 years ago, we approved 2 positions to be paid out of that, and now here's a third. But at a total of $713,132.98, it's still pretty healthy. It's just that maybe some other projects or long-term needs are going to have to definitely be considered before we commit too much of that money just to hiring new people all the time.
Gig back from the state for not having enough deputy?
Deputy-wise, no, we haven't. That would be just with the jail that they inspect. I mean, one of the biggest problems right now we have is whenever one person takes off, we have to replace it most of the time with somebody else working to cover it. If we gain one more, that's going to help eliminate and alleviate some of that. And then with day shift in the court now. Like yesterday, there was a few times, at times we didn't have anybody on the road because they were transporting people to court, even with our transport officers. So
Have you, I'm sorry.
one person would help be able to reschedule on court days to have somebody come up and help cover there, and then also help cover vacations.
Eliminate some of our overtime pay.
Yeah.
Do you have any projection on how much overtime savings it would be by having an additional officer?
Yeah, we did not do that. Sorry, I apologize for that. And the paperwork coming late, I guess I could have sent it out, but had the top 3 candidates finished differently, then I wouldn't have been able to come over and ask and show you a savings, because the one that finished in the lower position was not a certified police officer.
I'd likely be in favor of this, but like Kim, I probably want to look at how we budgeted for 2019 versus what the request is, and make sure the funds are going to be available long term. And so I think I'm in favor of also just holding off, 30 days into the February meeting, and then making the decision at that time. So I guess if yours was a formal motion, then mine's a formal second. But again, I'm likely in favor of the request.
And I think it's probably appropriate, too, especially with having 2 new members, that we give them time to digest this and be able to ask you questions, maybe interact with you a little bit and make sure they're squared away. And being that it is right at the start of a new budgetary cycle that we've just been through a process on, Mark, I would hope that if we vote goes to go that direction, that you would be able to still work with that. I mean, what's your opinion there?
What, can you say your question, or?
The concern about keeping interest in the people that you want to hire.
Yeah, I can talk to them, but as we all know, in the job world, if they get an opportunity, I can't, ask them not to take another job if they get the offer. But yes, I'll speak to them.
It wouldn't cause you any undue hardship to postpone it for 30 days, would it?
Not a hardship, no.
And I think that's the great position that you're in right now, because if it would have been a hardship, this would have been something you'd have been, really pushing hard before. But the opportunity's there now, and I think it's good leadership and a good decision that you're making. But on the same hand of, you not rushing into it, I think we ought to take a month and digest it, as been suggested too. So that's how I guess I would be in favor of the discussions happen.
I'm in favor of creating the position for the new deputy on it, but I also think we probably should have 30 days to digest it and go from there.
I agree with that too. I see your need. I'm not putting that off any. I just think we need to take a better look at the finances.
Well, we do have a motion and a second. We've had some good further discussion. I would ask at this time, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor of the motion that was made, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown it was passed unanimously to bring this back up at next month's meeting by all members that were present, and all members are present.
I wanted to add to that, Mr. Chairman, if they have any more information, please get it out to us. I mean, as far as the vacations or what, they're...
Yeah, if you could come up with a number, too, on the cost savings on overtime, even if it's not set in stone, Jason, if that's not too hard, that'd be great.
I can look and see what's scheduled right now.
Great. And then we will go to the next item on the agenda, and it'll be Judge Fahl, please.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. First rule of politics is stay out of somebody else's business and take care of your own stuff. And this was not planned. I knew that Mark was going to be up here today asking for this, but I thought maybe I could help him provide a little bit more information about what he was talking about before I get into my stuff. Today, we have pretrial conferences, and that's where the inmates or the defendants meet with the prosecutor to try to work out an agreement. We'll have at least 60 of those set today throughout the course of the day, and a good 20 to 25 will be incarcerated folks that have to be brought back and forth. And that's what these guys do for me, and that's just my court, that's not circuit court. And they do a great job of it. And we try to eliminate as much as we can by using the video teleconferencing system. And we can do that on Monday afternoons. But that does not allow us the opportunity, or does not allow the defense attorney a confidential meeting with their client. So that's why, as much as we've tried to work with the Sheriff's Department and they've tried to work with us, we just can't use the VTC. They have to physically have a deputy bring all those guys over. And as you know, the more you have, the more inmates you have with one deputy, the more dangerous it is for everyone. And these guys do a fantastic job of supporting me. And I send them all over the state. We've worked together as best we can to minimize that, but they really do a great job. So just kind of wanted to support Mark a little bit in that. Again, promise that wasn't planned. I had no idea he was even on the agenda today.
Judge,
yesterday I was. Yes, sir.
A question in regard to that. We've received material about the new pretrial process that's going to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
Will that impact the problem right now?
It will impact some of that. I think it will decrease the jail population to a certain degree, but until we finalize the program, the new pretrial program isn't going to just be, okay, you're in and you're out. What it's going to do is it's going to require services. And it's going to that could impact the Sheriff's Department in assisting in transporting some of those folks to services, or we may need to transport them to other facilities to get those services. So it will, we're hoping that it will help be part of the overall solution to the jail overcrowding system, but I don't think it's going to totally eliminate and decrease significantly the sheriff's impact. The other problem we have is just a practical issue that I never realized until I got into the criminal justice system, and that is unfortunately the old 20-80 or 80-20 rule, 20% of your people or 80% of your issues, and a lot of our inmates have problems in other counties as well. So when we have a hearing set, we find out, oh, this guy is now, he's actually in Kosciuszko County Jail. So in order to get his hearing conducted, I have to ask the sheriff. Unfortunately, I don't ask him, I kind of tell him. But he does a nice job of it. He has to go get that person and bring him. And I can tell you, Chief Deputy Spencer and I are constantly trying to work out arrangements. And often I've got the chief and the sheriff in my courtroom, and you don't see that in other counties. I mean, they do a great job supporting us. But the answer to your question is yes, to a degree.
Thank you.
But very good question. Thank you, sir. Any other questions on that? Like I said, that was not planned. I generally don't try to jump into somebody else's business, but I felt like, you know, I'm a part of his problem. I felt like I should assist. What I'd like to do today is just ask that we encumber some funds. If you recall, we had a jury management system that cost us about $4,000 each year as a private contractor. We experimented with the state-run program, and it's worked well for us. So I've actually eliminated that $4,000 from my budget for 2019, but I still had it unspent in 2018. So I'm asking to encumber that, move that forward to 2019, and then I'd like to move that to office supplies. I've got some staff members that are working on some old desks. And I had to get it, am I tracking it correctly? Encumber it first and then move it, okay? So I'm going to ask to move it to 2019 and then switch it over to office supplies. I have some staff members that are working on some old type of desks that kind of have the lower arm for a typewriter, and they're literally the laminates being held on by Scotch tape. And so it's certainly, they're functioning, they're working fine, but I'd like to take that extra funds and be able to get new desks that are computer friendly. We're in the process of moving to a new operating system, and eventually Judge Rinchel and I hope by the end of the year or early into 2020 to go paperless. So try to make this as simple as I can. Sir.
So you have $4,000 in the 2019 budget. You have $4,000 that you're encumbering from 2018, so you have a total of $8,000?
No, sir. I took the 2019 out because we don't need it anymore. I had that 2018 because we weren't sure the system would work for us. So we still had it budgeted for 2018. The system worked well, so we didn't need the money in 2018. I eliminated it for 2019. but I still have that $4,000 swirling around out there.
And obviously, if you've prepared this paperwork for us, that it is proper that something can be encumbered into 2019 that was left over in the budget from 2018? Okay. At what point does that just revert to county general?
If he doesn't expense all of the supplies budget, it will just, at the end of the year, if it's not all used, it'll just go back into the cash balance.
At the end of the
2019.
budget year?
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't this money then have reverted back into county general rather than asking for an encumbrance in January?
Well, it would have, but it would not. It would no longer. It would just be gone. It wouldn't be in his line item any longer, so he wouldn't be able to utilize these funds unless he encumbered it, because it's not there for 2019. So.
Okay.
If I could interject, if I had not asked to encumber it, it would go back to the general fund.
Okay, and I guess my question is, what's the deadline? What's the point to where that money that has not been encumbered just goes into the general fund?
Again, almost a lot of accounts have money left over, have money left in their accounts at the end of the year. If no one encumbers those funds, they just stay in the cash balance for county general. They're just unexpended funds. So they're asking for and several other people are asking to use 2018 money in 2019 because they didn't expend it in 2018.
Jana asked us to submit a form by a certain date.
Okay.
Asking us, December 28th, I think, was the deadline. Although, being the fact that I'm incompetent, she had to help me do mine. But before the end of the year, we ask, hey, I've got this funds left. Can I forward that on to 2019? Because I didn't use it up in 2018. So that's what I did in this case. I had this funds. I was hoping to move it forward to 2019 and use it to then buy those desks. Now, if you don't approve that, then it goes back to 2018 and it comes back to you in the general fund.
Okay.
It's unexpended funds.
I understand.
This is my request.
Yeah, that's where it is right now, it's back in the general fund.
Okay, so we're just, in essence, by encumbering it, we're taking it back out of the general fund and giving it back to them in the form of 2019 monies to be spent. Okay.
You can't exactly.
It's an encumbrance rather than additional appropriation.
Okay. Okay, I would call for a motion.
What was the amount, since we didn't get the paperwork?
I'm sorry, the amount for the transfer resolution is $4,000.
I make a motion, we approve the encumbrance of $4,000.
I'll second that.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it is passed unanimously with all board members present.
Thank you all very much. Have a great year.
Thank you, Judge.
Does that mean we're not going to see you again, sir?
I try to be low maintenance.
Next item on the agenda is Cindy Doolittle, please.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Thank you.
Okay, what you have is an email that was sent back in June of 2018, and CSI is our vendor for our court package. And they gave Debbie Beers a quote of $31,099. If you see all the invoices that are attached to that, it is off $6,578. And I'm going to let Debbie explain this since this happened.
So every year, what I would do as clerk is I would contact our vendors to get a quote to see if there's been any increases. And this is a quote that was given to me by CSI, our case management system vendor. When we see before the end of the year the invoices for 2019, it was almost $7,000 more. So I picked up the phone and I called the president of the company to find out why the discrepancy. Basically, I was told that the employee that quoted me had been doing some things that wasn't up to par, I guess, and she was fired. So, needless to say, I asked him if he would stick to the quote, and he said no. He said that as far as the maintenance for the courts, they have doubled in price. Before, yearly maintenance for each court was $3,500. It has increased to $7,000 per court. That's where the discrepancy is coming. I asked him about the quote. I said, we have been with you since 1999. Would you please uphold the quote? And he said, absolutely not. So that's why we're here.
So are you changing vendors?
Absolutely. We're going with Odyssey, the state package. It really is heartbreaking to me. We've had a wonderful working relationship. I know that e-filing has really hit CSI and also Odyssey. So they used to have 50-some counties in the state, and they're down to, I think, in the 20s now. So it's hit them hard.
Do you have a signed contract with them?
I do have a signed contract to use them, but the prices are different every year.
Have we already switched vendors?
We are in the process. We go live with Odyssey in May.
Do you see a cost savings there for what
With Odyssey?
Yes.
Do you know about how much?
Let's see. Odyssey, basically, they tell you that they're free, which is not really true. But we will not be using a vendor to where we have to spend this money, $30,000 to $40,000. So that will be a cost savings to the county. But because we're not going live until May, I had to go with CSI to get us through. That was another thing that I brought to Mr. Cook. Said we will be using CSI for only 4 months of the year. Could you please stand with the quote?
So the quote is for the year, and we're required to pay all of it up front?
I asked him if he would, because of only 4 months, if he would go with less, and he said no.
Do we have any recourse as far as getting a prorated amount of that back after we cancel our services?
That's definitely something that might need to, and we kind of suggest that maybe we need to get our county attorney involved. And that breaks my heart to say that, but I don't know what our recourse is.
I would think we need to get somebody else involved to pay a yearly fee to just use it 4 months. I think somebody needs to get involved here. I don't think that's quite right. I don't know what the rest of you think, but
I think it would be appropriate to make sure that we follow up by requesting a refund after we cancel our services with them. And if they don't meet our satisfaction, then make sure we get with the county attorney and at least get his opinion on it and go forward from there.
So has a contract been signed for 2019?
I don't think so, not yet.
I haven't signed anything.
Yeah.
Is it
I was
possible?
waiting to see.
Is it possible to just request a new quote for 4 months, 5 months?
I can do that, but he was pretty adamant that's his cost and that's what he was.
Well,
I mean, I could.
We're very willing to pay his cost for 5 months to give us a month of transition.
I'll get hold of CSI again.
How is it going to affect us, and what is it going to do to us if we don't, why is the transition in 4 months rather than immediately? What is the process there?
It takes, as far as Odyssey changing over to a new case management system, it takes several years. And the state, we're at the state's mercy. So we've already been on the list now for about a year, and we're at their mercy. So when they say we go live, that's when we go live. So we have no say. We have no say in that. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Odyssey is already been going into our system and looking at it and doing whatever they're doing. I don't know. It's a very long process.
Mr. Chair. Also, it's not just the clerk's office, it's the judges, all the judges are dealing with that, the prosecutor. It's a countywide, but.
Community corrections.
Yeah, community corrections.
Community corrections, probation. That's just not our office. And this cost that's in this is something that the clerk's office has always put in the budget to pay for everyone.
Mm-hmm. So if we don't fund this today, are they going to turn off our services?
And that I don't know. Again, I would certainly hope not. They can't, because we have to function.
It's a must-have,
It's
right?
a must-have. We can't do our job. The courts can't do their job. We can't do our job without our case management system. That is our job.
Well, I think that we're probably forced to go through with this and then try to get money back on the back end of it, legally.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate for us to get our county attorney involved in it, and if they're not providing the services after May, I would assume, and when you assume something, you're usually wrong, that through the court system, there should be some kind of refund.
I think it'd be appropriate to get with him before we sign this new contract to make sure that we're not signing that we don't have recourse on a partial year of service.
I'll get a hold of the county attorney.
George?
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think we wait till it's too late. I think we do it right away and get him involved.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So then we're back to the additional appropriation.
Okay, and the other additional appropriation, I believe it was for 11,000 something.
$11,145.
What that is we have a deputy in our office that has been an employee for 32 years, and her budget was always set. Her pay was always, it always came out of county general. However, the last few years, because she does child support, we were able to take a part of the 4D incentive money to pay for her salary. But now, of course, the state has taken over a lot of the child support, so our percentages are down on how they figure. So our Dossett Consulting, who takes care of all of our 4D incentive, he said that the percentage is too low, that we can no longer pay her part of her salary out of that money. So in order to, and we just found that out in December.
I did not know that at the time that I prepared the budget for 2019.
He just came in and told me in December. So in order to be able to pay her, that's what the difference.
So I'm looking at then the amount of the appropriation reduction resolution of the $11,145, and you're taking that out of personal services, correct?
Is that it?
And clerk incentive.
Okay.
Because it's a salary.
So we would first need to approve that, and then we are going to move that money into an amount, into personnel services, along with the $8,000 for the services that we have already talked about, for a total of $19,145. So I actually have two ordinances here that we will need to address. First one being the reduction of the $11,145. I would ask for a motion.
Was it 8 or 7?
It was just under 7. Pardon? It was just under 7.
For the
CSI.
Yes, I think it was $6,578 is the difference.
Okay, I thought 8,000.
Yeah, I think I told you 7,000, but it's 6,578. Is the difference.
Saves you a little bit.
Do we want to change it to 6,578, or we want to change it to 7,000?
What do you guys want to do?
6,578 is the amount needed.
Just write it over here.
Correct.
And then that's what it'll be changed to from the 8,000, so that'll give us so that'll change the 19,145 to 17,723, if my math is correct.
That's an additional appropriation.
That is an additional amount requested for an additional appropriation resolution. We still, in front of that one, though, have the reduction resolution of the $11,145. So I'd accept a motion on either or both, please.
Make a motion, we do both.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Let it be shown as passed unanimously with all board members present.
Thank you.
Getting tricky on me here. Switching the nay and the I is up. Almost signed the wrong side. Next item on the agenda is Amy Biggs, please.
Chairman, did we finish the situation with the case management?
This was the last.
That's the
Last minute one.
$31,999.
We have not. That is still on the agenda. I put that right after the salary ordinance reapproval.
Okay.
So we'll address it at that point. I think we still have some other ones to cover. Thank you, though, for making sure on that.
All right, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Welcome, new members. I've introduced myself, but for the purpose of today's meeting, Amy Biggs, Whitley County Emergency Management. Come before you requesting an encumbrance. The total cost of that encumbrance, I believe, is $8,000 on that encumbrance. The need for the encumbrance is in relationship to the grants process that we work through with the state. Oftentimes, I put money in accounts to be able to fund and subsidize the grant process that we work through. We're very fortunate that we have been successful in receiving multiple grants throughout the last 3 to 5 years. And in doing so, we also have to upfront those costs in order to get reimbursed. In addition, we've received 3 grants this year, one of which does require a matching grant. Now, those grants can be matched in hard dollars, or those grants can be matched in soft dollars, which is participation. We want to keep that reserve in the case that we wouldn't get the participation that we need to make up the difference for the soft match, is what they call that. So the request that I have before you is to be able to complete 3 of the grant projects that we have. Currently, they were awarded kind of mid-year, and we didn't have enough opportunity to get them completed by the end of 2018. So those projects will carry into 2019 for completion. I apologize, I don't have any specific invoices related to those costs because they're 3 separate projects, and all 3 of them are currently in motion being approved through the state.
Do you think those are going to exceed your encumbered the $8,000 you want to encumber?
In fact, I think it'll be less than that, to be honest with you. Probably money will be able to return back.
And Janet, the paperwork is and the request are proper and in order? I would call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown as passed unanimously with all board members present.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Put that back. Brandon Forrester, please.
Good morning. I have 3 requests, more, and I look at, I've got reductions, additionals, and encumbrances. On December 20th, we received some guidance from the State Board of Accounts on how to deal with the legislator's action of requiring 50% of our MVH funds being spent on construction, reconstruction, and preservation of our roads. And this was part of the legislation for the new council member. When the state legislators increased the gas tax, fuel tax, they put this blurb in the statute that says you have to spend 50% of your MVH funds.
Brandon, could you have a seat there so you're closer to the mic? We're having a hard time picking it up. Yep, thank you.
Yep, I'm sorry, and Brandon Forrester, County Engineer, County Highway. So the statute says that 50% of our MVH money, which we get money from the fuel tax that goes into an MVH fund, and we get money from the fuel tax that goes into LRS, local road and street, motor vehicle highway, local road and street. 50% of the MVH money has to be spent on the construction, reconstruction, or preservation of our roads. And so at budget time, I asked to create a new fund that I knew expenses wouldn't count towards that 50%, administrative expenses, and the council approved that budget, but now here at the end of the year, they give us guidance, and we also had a year's worth of data. I mean, our guys, every day they turn in a daily. That daily, what equipment they used, what material they used, how many hours went to each project gets entered into a database. I personally spent a lot of time adding fields, filling in data blanks, had our database programmer come in and do some things that I wasn't sure on how to do so that we could be able to report, hopefully, that we were spending 50% of our money towards construction, reconstruction, and preservation. So again, as I'm going through the year's expenses and looking at these things, I mean, there's a couple things going on here. For one, I'm seeing that, for example, BM90 is the liquid asphalt product that we use for chip sealing. Chip sealing counts towards the 50%. As we've done historically, part of that liquid asphalt we paid out of local road and street. It still went towards the preservation of our roads, but it was paid out of local road and street. So it doesn't count towards the 50%. So in essence, what between the legislators and the State Board of Accounts, they've required us to do a different form of bookkeeping, or I've got to pay for it out of MVH and not local road and street. So what I'm proposing with the reductions and the additionals is to, now that I've gone through a year of this, it's easier to see how things can work. But I've basically moved some of the expenses into local road and street that I know won't count towards the 50%. That includes equipment is a big expense, capital improvement, things like that. So that is for the additional appropriation. You can include equipment. So for the additional appropriation into local road and streets, I've got tires and tubes and garage supplies, equipment, garage equipment, for example. The bottom line is for every reduction there's an additional, and other than on the reductions, I also included $44,492 from the MVH fund because DLGF said we had to cut our budget at $44,492. So there's a difference there, but in essence, I'm playing a bookkeeping game. I have to do it to be able to try and meet this 50% requirement.
You're just taking stuff that won't qualify to another one and stuff that will to another one.
Exactly. So I don't know how the easiest way to look at it. If you take the 1169, see, you've got the additional. You've got. So yeah, I've got a reduction of 535 and an additional of 525, and when I was putting this together, I missed 10,000. We can get by without it. Actually, I'm looking at a reduction in that. The 1782 notice showed that there was plenty of funds in local road and street. Even we didn't need to cut. So again, I don't know how you want to handle these. If you want to do them one at a time, do them by 1169, 1176. If you want to do the reductions first and then the additionals. If you look at the 1176, the reduction is 569,492. Again, that includes the 44,492 budget reduction. And actually, what you have before you, and I apologize, to make it more complicated, you show a 535 additional, which includes 110,000 for road improvements. In order to get the budget cut of 44,492, we actually need to change that to 100,000, and it would be a 525 additional.
So what's it do to this number?
So it's going to be 525.
So the 1176 is going for your, the amount of reduction is the 569,492, and then the appropriation is 525,000.
Correct.
And the rest of that money will revert where?
It's all MVH.
Okay.
MVH money. The difference is the budget cut, basically. And DLGF said you have to cut your budget based on revenue projections. And that's the 44,492. So I think in that 1782, they assume we're going to spend every penny that was budgeted for 18. So actually there was money, a couple $100,000 left in the budget. So we'll be fine as far as that goes. But yeah, it's all MVH money.
So my understanding is under 1176 motor vehicle highway, there's a reduction of 569,492, correct?
Yes.
And under Fund 1169 local roads and streets, it's a reduction of 525,000?
The reduction
is 535.
535?
Yes. The reduction is.
And then the amount requested on that one is the additional appropriation for the 1169 is the 525.
Correct.
Just move money from one fund to another so that you can use it to cover the 50%.
Changing the line items.
Yeah, just
essentially. Yeah.
Make a motion we approve the request.
Would the motion be for the 1169 and the 1176, both the reductions and additional appropriations?
Yes.
I have a motion and a second. I would call for further discussion. Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown as passed unanimously with all board members present. And now you have an encumbrance to talk to us about?
Yes, the encumbrances, there is our bridge inspection took place in 2018. We got the final report late in the year, and one of the results from the inspection report, which includes the federal government ultimately dictates this bridge inspection process, and we get 80% reimbursement for that expense. But they required a new load rating system and requirements for every one of our bridges. So every one of our bridges had to be analyzed, not for just a standard vehicle, but numerous vehicles. And so basically the consulting engineer that did this created a model, and they entered the data from the bridge, and in the model they drove different vehicles across the bridge to see what limits and if the bridge could meet the minimum requirements for all these vehicles. The result is we were down to one bridge that was posted for a weight limit based on regular loads, but now we have 4. And so I met with the consultant engineer and talked about our bridge replacement, rehabilitation, and repair plan, which I presented to the commissioners yesterday. That includes 2 bridges that now need to be posted, or one that was already posted in Larwell. So we have begun the design and permitting process for that bridge, and then we also have a kind of a problem child bridge, which is Bridge 95. It's on County Road 500 West, south of State Road 205, and it's what some people call the Wood Bridge. And it is a 5-span bridge across the bottom end of the Eel River. There's geometric issues with the roadway, and it's not been the best placement for a wood bridge, and so that bridge needs to be posted for those vehicles. We've begun the design and permitting process for that bridge also. So the encumbrances are basically to cover the repair. We originally had talked about replacing the King Street Bridge over the CSX Railroad in Larwell. We were looking at just ballpark estimate about $1.5 million on that. And part of the reason for that is the railroad requires you to provide them engineered construction documents. I mean, you have to prove to them with stamped engineering plans that says that the crane that you're going to use can lift the beams that you're going to use. And then you have to pay for flaggers and all these other things. We brainstormed and come up with a way, plus we acquired original design plans from when that bridge was built. Consultant analyzed it, come to the conclusion that we can do a repair, rehabilitation, whatever you want to call it, significantly less cost. For the additional appropriation, that is the what I'm showing in repair. Bridge repair, yeah, the 65.5. The bridge replacement, that is money that is, again, we're encumbering or requesting to encumber. That's money that's left in the 2018 budget that we didn't spend, that I'm asking you, because we have active projects, that we carry that money into the 2019 budget, and then I don't have to come back to you in 2019 and pay for advertising for an additional appropriation. We just carry the money over. For your information, those 2 requests are Cume Bridge. Cume Bridge comes from property tax, and there's currently $1.4 million in cash page. So there is money available for these projects. Again, I'm just asking to encumber unused 2018 funds into the 2019 budget.
Jana, you've had an opportunity to go over this, and everything has been presented properly, and it's the money's there to encumber. Okay, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion, we encumber the funds on Fund 1135, 1176, in the amounts of $587,200, $65,500, $45,650.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions?
Brandon, what's the truck for?
That is for a truck that we have ordered. The money was budgeted for 2019, and when we actually presented the budget, I was a little light on, because our plan was to get a one-ton dump truck, a new sign truck, and a single axle dump truck, which we haven't actually taken bids on the single axle yet. We've got quotes and ordered the two other trucks, but my fear is that I'm a little light on my estimate on the dump truck, the single axle dump truck. I based that estimate on the last time we took bids, and a lot's changed since then, new DEF requirements and Tier 4 and 5 engines, and I just expect that single axle truck is going to come in higher, and there was money left over, so I'm asking to encumber it so that I'm certain I've got enough money to pay for the single axle when we take bids for it.
Go ahead.
Any further?
So this truck has been ordered that's already here, the 45,000?
That truck has been ordered, yes.
That has not been
It's
put into
not,
service yet?
Last we knew it was to be available in February.
So it will be paid for this year?
Exactly.
Any further? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all members present.
Now, I'm not sure how much of this is just for your information, or if I don't believe that you need to take action on this, but again, on December 20th, we received a directive from the State Board of Accounts that says you shall create a sub-fund of the MVH fund. So MVH is 1176. They're saying that we need to create a sub-fund, 1173, and when we receive money, 50% of that money has to go into 1173, and 1173 can only be used for the construction, reconstruction, and preservation of our roads. That's State Board of Accounts' answer to how we do the bookkeeping on this 50% requirement in the statute. At budget time, I was trying to deal with it by creating a 4176 fund, which was, and then 1176, I again was working on database programming to be able to justify that 50% of that money was going to be spent on construction, reconstruction, preservation. Now,
better just making it easier for them to understand what you did.
Oh, absolutely. They're making it easier for them, and they're making it a lot more difficult for us, because what this means is that 7.5-hour day, I got a guy that works 2 hours hauling 11 limestone, which is a preservation expense because we're going to use that 11 limestone for chip sealing, and then 5.5 hours replacing a culvert. We have to enter into the payroll system, whether that was a preservation or maintenance or administrative, and wages and benefits are somehow going to have to be paid out of 1173 or 1176. So I went through the 1176 budget. I mean, this directive from the state examiner says the purpose of the directive is to authorize and require counties, cities, and towns to create a new subfund. So I went through the 1176 budget. did my best, hopefully we can get it, to identify the line items that we need in that new 1173 sub-fund, and we're going to do our best to try and pay for everything that counts towards the 50% out of 1173. The directive also says that that the sub-fund is because it's authorized and required, that it does not require an ordinance. So what that says to me is you guys don't need to go through that trouble.
I think you're exactly right, and appreciate the information and you sharing that information with us. But when it comes as a directive, it will be automatically done, and we do not have the decision-making process in that. So essentially, it's been taken care of, or will be shortly.
Yes, we're working on it.
Yep.
Okay. Real quick, also our salt barn is complete and has about 1,000 tons of salt in it. We received annual bids yesterday for materials, and we did receive a $650,000 award for community crossings projects, which will be paving in the lake areas. And as of yesterday, they opened up a new call for another community crossings project, so I'll be working on applying for more funds. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Nathan Bilger, please.
Come on.
Okay. It doesn't make any difference.
Morning. Here for encumbrance request as well, as we discussed back when I had requested additional appropriation for professional services. The total amount back then. That was intended to cover additional attorney's fees that we had accumulating from a couple court cases. Those cases seem to be resolved. The court decision was handed out at the end of December. However, there is still time for appeals. And so not knowing exactly what might happen, asking to carry forward those funds from last year into this year to cover whatever may be.
And you're asking to encumber $4,254.10.
Thank you.
Yes. Any questions?
George, where's the commissioner stand with this? Is that over with, or are you?
No, we're still working with, well, it'll be appeals now. Everything is pretty well done. But we're paying Matt separately than what their attorney is. But the appeals process will probably come into effect here soon. But we won one and lost one.
It could be appeals.
Yeah.
It winds up being that way.
Yeah.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the $4,254.10.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown as passed unanimously with all board members present.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, if I may add one other thing, separate matter. Will Klein, who serves on the county BZA, resigned as of the beginning of December, and he was a council appointment. So if you have any suggestions, nominations for someone to serve on the BZA, I believe he still has 2 or 3 years remaining on his term. Let me know in the next 2 weeks, and we'll present those back to you. We'll also, if you don't have nominations, we'll post it for interested persons to make themselves known. No requirements other than they need to be resident outside of the municipal jurisdictions, resident of the county, outside the municipal jurisdiction. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do you have, Nathan, do you have your finger on the pulse of anybody that might be interested? Have you discussed it with anyone?
Unfortunately, I do not. Do have a couple people who expressed interest going through some of the change process. However, they were more interested in serving in plan commission capacity. If there are any openings there, EZA, but I might follow up with those couple people. I don't think so. I think they're more interested in plan commission. And then if you're thinking about it, we do try and stagger things geographically. Right now, we
Edna, Troy, Thorncreek, Smith.
and Jefferson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda are 2 encumbrance requests, and one is, are they both circuit court, Jana?
No, one's circuit and one's...
One's circuit, one's prosecutor. So Jana's going to present that information to us, please.
You did receive the attachments and everything that they're asking for and why. They attached invoices. One was for the prosecutor. It looks like one was for a conference that they attended. Actually, it looks like it's all for the conference. So they're asking to encumber those funds to pay for that. I believe they paid through the county credit card, and we don't get the statement until January or December, so they're asking to encumber those so they can pay for the 18 budget since they went in 18, if that makes sense.
This is at $129.
Yes.
So we have a line of $129, $129, $417.69, and $417.69 for the prosecutor. Call for a motion. I have a motion by Councilman Barrett.
Second.
Second by Councilman Banks. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please respond by, well, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor of it, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same, and let it be shown it was passed unanimously with all board members present. And then the second, and I think our final encumbrance today is with the circuit court with the amount of $346.52 for public defender services, Chin's Pauper attorney fees of $529.63, and then they wish to encumber in their supply line item of $5,136.75. And if you had a chance to look through the paperwork they provided, I think it justifies those amounts or shows why those amounts are being requested. So I would ask for a motion at this time.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Comfort. Second by Councilman Overdeer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it's passed unanimously with all board members present. Is that it for our encumbrances, please? Thank you. 2019 salary ordinance reapproval. Do you want to touch base with us real quick on that and tell me exactly why we're reapproving it?
Okay. Well, as you can see, you guys did get the changes and everything. Okay, because we had it divided by 27 last year, and it's 26 this year. I forgot to change it. The formula 27 to 26. So we fixed that. And since there were changes since then with the clerk's office, I changed her to be completely funded out of there because you guys approved that today. And some of the community corrections fund changed as well because I had their salaries on there incorrectly. Just because of their grant funds, I forgot to get them the $1,000. That was my bad. And then I also changed a few of their account numbers because their names for their accounts were not matching up with their job description. So we fixed those and they all match now. And then the level 1, 2, and 3 certification for the assessor. I believe I had 3,000. It's actually 3,500. Veterans Treatment Coordinator he was in his own fund, but I still had him under Community Corrections, so I split that out and had him under his own fund. And then again, for Community Corrections Grant Fund, the 9310, again, I changed their names to match their job descriptions. Am I saying that right, Paula? Yep. Okay, all right. So we should be all good now. I think Tiffany probably went through this and double-checked it like 5 times for me, so.
Are there any questions on the reapproval of the 2019 salary ordinance?
What is that ordinance number?
2019-01.
I move that we approve ordinance 2019-01 as presented with the changes.
I'll second it.
A motion by Vice Chair Banks and a second by Councilman Wheeler. Call for any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown as passed unanimously with all board members present. I see still a pretty full audience, so I would ask at this time, is there anything that was needed to be addressed on the agenda today?
Just want to introduce, for those who don't know me, I'm Scott Wagner with the Health Department. I run the daily operations of the Health Department. I want to introduce Carly LaRue. She is our contracted health educator that we're using grant funds this year to promote the Health Department and work on our healthy issues here in the county. Carly's hit the ground running and is doing a great job so far. Any questions for her at all? Native of public service.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Kim, yes.
Do you want to do her, just scratch her guy's name now?
I couldn't hear you. Did you mention something about the request?
Yeah, it was just for the certification.
Okay.
Yep, I had put 3,000 and it should have been 3,500.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, that's all it was. Yep.
You want to scratch
Did I sign the wrong place?
Oh, yeah, I didn't change it, did I?
No,
Okay, yeah, I'll change them.
because
Yeah.
Unless you want me to just type a new one and bring it down before everybody leaves.
We still have appointments to make, so if you want to do that,
Can you
that'd
do
be
that?
great.
Yeah, I can do
Yeah,
it.
be
Just
better.
actually out.
Send it to me.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm Paula Warden with Community Corrections. I'm the director. I'm just here to see who's getting appointed to my board this year.
We'll get to that very shortly.
Thank you.
Good. Let's go to our appointments then, and does everybody have a copy of what they were? Are you ready to? Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead. Let's go through it.
Okay, so the Community Corrections Advisory Board, which I am currently on, no, I'm not on Community Corrections. No, I am. I'm mixing that up with Senior Center, yes. Okay, let's back up. The Community Corrections Advisory Board, which Paula is here for, I am currently on that, and I have a great working knowledge of not only what goes on out there, but a working relationship with Paula. And I would be open to stepping aside on that position to let someone else gather information and participate with that board. And I think they have excellent meetings and provide not only pizza, but they provide a lot of information on what's going on, and there's a lot of people that are on her board that bring a lot of different experiences and information to the table, and I think it would be appropriate to rotate that particular board.
And that is a noon meeting, correct?
It is a noon meeting 4 times a year?
Yep, we meet right over here in our seat.
Yep, so it's right here. Is there anybody that would have interest in that position?
I do have interest in that.
You do? Okay. Tim Comfort would have interest in that. Is there anybody else that has interest? Then, Tim, that is your position. EMS Oversight Committee. Kim, you're currently on that. Do you want to give us any kind of input on how that's went this last year and whether it's something that you still see as a necessary appointment?
Well, it's went well. Parkview does everything they could do for Whitley County. I think it's still needed. I think they like coming to one of the commissioners and one of the council members gives us an update, and I think it's something that I think we still need, and I would like to serve on it, continue to serve on it, if possible.
Okay, I do have interest for that. Is there any other interest in the EMS Oversight Committee, please? Hearing none, Kim will remain in that position. Emergency Management, which was held by Glenn LaRue, will need to make a replacement on that. Is there anybody sitting on the board currently that has had that position in the past that can share with us what exactly the responsibilities are there? Or what information that we've gathered? Anybody? No? Okay, so the Emergency Management is a position that's going to be working with Kim Biggs and the process that they have with that. Is there anybody that has interest in that? Tom?
Yep.
Is there any other interest in the emergency management? Hearing none, congratulations, Tom. Parcel Committee, those aren't our appointments. So we go to the Joint Advisory Board. Currently, Kim is on that. Kim, can you give us a brief rundown on this last year and what you see with that board?
Well, it's a good
Or
board.
commission, I'm sorry.
The board members are usually one of the county commissioners, 2 county councils, the mayor of Columbus City, and usually one of their council members and maybe an outsider.
Yeah, one of their appointments.
Yeah, one of their
Mine
appointments.
was an appointment.
It's good, kind of gives you an oversight what's been going on as far as permitting in the county and everything. Just a kind of a heads up, and I think it's really good that we continue to be involved in it. So, and Jim Bainman did serve with me on that, and I would continue to serve on it unless somebody else would.
I'd be interested in sitting on that as well.
Okay.
But there's two
positions to fill this.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that has interest in the Joint Advisory Board? When do you guys meet on that, Kim?
Usually right after the council meetings.
Okay. Well, hearing no other anybody speaking up, congratulations on both of you, Chad and Kim, staying on that board. Next one would be the Planning Commission, which I currently hold, and it's been a year full of some pretty interesting and packed meetings, and I've kind of enjoyed that. I wouldn't mind staying on the Planning Commission. I would ask, is there anybody else that's interested in the Planning Commission? Okay, I will stay in that position. Redevelopment Commission, currently with Kim. Kim, you want to give us a rundown on that, please?
Well, we've been busy, I can tell you that. We've kind of had our hands full. We've been, a couple projects been going on, and we're in the process of kind of restructuring a little bit as far as tax abatements and what redevelopment's going to be offering out there. So I think there's plenty of good things ahead for the redevelopment, and I would continue to serve on it. I'd like to serve on it if all possible.
Very good. So Kim's interested in staying on Redevelopment Commission. Is there anyone else that's interested in the Redevelopment Commission? Congratulations, Kim. Senior Citizens Center. Glenn LaRue was our representative on this in the past, and this is where I was confusing myself earlier. I am involved with that organization. I'm on their board by election and not appointment from the council. But so I don't want to really double down in 2 positions out there with them. So we do need a board member that would be interested in serving on their board. Their meetings are on the 3rd Monday of every month at 9 a.m. And they're usually about an hour meeting. A lot of good things going on out there right now, and just a great organization. We have appointment to that board, and the fact that the county funds them for matching, I think a matching grant fund of $25,000, which you guys take out of the commissioner's budget. So would there be interest in, or who would have interest in that, please?
Without seeming too eager, I would like to serve there.
Tim, that's great. Is there anybody else that have interest? Okay, very good. Congratulations, Tim. Next board is the Solid Waste Board's appointment. Glenn LaRue was on that. That deals with the recycling center and the issues they have down there. It's my understanding that that has been traditionally a monthly meeting, but they have had, George, they have shortened it as an organization every other month at this point. I have served on that board in the past when I was a member of city council, and have a certain amount of familiarity with it, and I would be interested in that as speaking up to let you know I have interest in it, but I would also ask if anybody else has interest in that position.
Sounds like a good volunteer.
All right, well then I will take Glenn's spot on the Solid Waste Board. EDC Board, Bill, you currently hold that position. You want to give us a rundown, and do you still have interest in that?
It's, we meet once a month, and we just go over the EDC activities, and it's been interesting, and I'd be happy to continue.
Does anybody else have interest in the EDC, please? Congratulations, Bill, on that reappointment. LEPC, Local Emergency Planning Commission, John, you're currently on that?
Willing to stay.
Okay. Anybody else have interest in that? Okay. Congratulations, John. EDC Commission, we have an appointment of John Lefevre on that. Is that up for reappointment? Do we appoint that every year, or is that just an appointment until?
Not quite right. He's an appoint. He is there as a representative of the regional partnership, and I don't think he's a voting member of the board.
So that's not our appointment?
That's not our appointment.
Okay, and I think if it was, I think that's something that's probably not a yearly appointment. It would be anyway. So can you check and make sure we confirm that, though, at least? Is that your understanding, George?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Investment Board, and I see that is listed here on our appointments and assignments. Do we have an appointment to the Investment Board?
I don't know. Commissioners do.
I see the people that are on the Investment Board, but I don't identify which one would be our appointment if we do have an appointment.
I didn't think we did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and delete that from our consideration for next year then, please. Personnel Committee, which currently is made up of myself, Chad and Kim, Commissioner Schrumpf, and who else is on that? We had a 5-member Personnel Committee. Our 3, Jana? Okay, and our 3 appointments were obviously the 3 council members, so we have those 3 appointments to address.
I would like to say that I think when Wagner Irwin Sheely completes their program or their process of rewriting our job descriptions, I think the Personnel Committee needs to be reevaluated at that time after they've completed their...
After the completion on it, is there any forecast on whether it's going to be a needed committee or not?
I think that needs to be discussed because from what I understand, they're leaning towards the Personnel Committee being all council members. No commissioner, no auditor, all council. But I could have misunderstood.
Okay. So we're waiting for that to be reevaluated.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying don't elect people, I'm just saying that I do think that that committee needs to be reevaluated after this project is complete.
It would make sense if those council members that are already serving continue to the completion of this process, in my mind.
Well, and I think as we move forward, and if that is indeed the format that we want to go with, it would be a 3-member board anyway, because we would need to stay under the rules of us getting together for a meeting without breaking any rules of the meeting process.
We can reevaluate that when we get the report from.
So we will move forward into this year then with myself and Chad and Kim staying on that committee, and we will remain open to rediscussing not only the format of that committee, but maybe making changes if they are appropriate at that time that we get those reports back, unless there is any objection with that. Very good. That will bring us then, let me go down my list. We just recently appointed our Alcohol Beverage Commission, which I don't think, is that a yearly appointment? Or is that an appointment until they are not interested or there is a need for a change?
I think it's annual.
Is it annual?
I think so.
Okay, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just recently appointed that, and maybe we were ahead of ourselves in appointing it in December, but we had a member that, as we discussed, pulled or decided they were retiring from that, and we wanted to have them. I think they have their first meeting today also, so it would have been hard to get that filled otherwise.
It doesn't change very often, I think.
Well, we've got 2 of them. The commissioners are going to be changing their appointment this year, too. So, your appointment then?
We changed, Ted Lynn was offered the resignation, and we appointed Trey Inslee to that board. And I ran in with the chair of that board, or the president of that board yesterday, and he shared with me that there was another opening that you guys needed to fill. Now, I may be wrong, but I think the last appointment that we have, please point it out to me, otherwise, is for, and I think this is a new appointment, a pretrial services program board. And I'm not sure how many people and who this is made up of and who has appointments to that. George, is that something you have information on?
I think commissioners and council have an appointment to that. It's 4 times a year, I think.
Right now, they've got 4 meetings scheduled,
You
one
should have
per
had
month.
something in your packet for that.
I didn't see anything on that.
February,
Yeah, I thought you did.
February, March, April, May so far.
Initially, they're planning 1-hour meetings, the first meeting night.
There was a letter that, yeah, Chad's got it. Yep.
Okay, I have not seen this.
This will be pretty involved.
Yes.
So I would ask if anybody has interest in being on the pretrial services program board.
Does this appointment need to be someone who's not a council member?
Is it a council member or
This
somebody
would be.
that is not on council?
It's one of you. Yeah.
I'll be interested in that.
Anybody else have interest, please?
I think John will do a great job.
Hearing none?
You got a volunteer.
That'll be John Barrett. Now, I would ask, is there anything that I have overlooked from anyone as far as our appointments?
I think we had a discussion in one of our earlier meetings, the Regional Sewer District, our council appointee is Chad Nix.
Okay, and I do see that on here. I thought that appointment had been made, though.
It has been made,
Does it
yes.
need to be renewed each year?
George, is the commissioner set on that?
Don does, yeah. Yeah, we got.
I think, I don't know what the rules are or anything, but I think as far as having investment in it, I think the council ought to have a seat on that. One of the councilmen ought to seat on it.
I'll talk to Don.
See what,
Well, we could use our appointment for that purpose,
yeah.
or for that position.
I would say if one of the councilmen don't want to do it, that would be.
I think Chad's actually the chair of the board, I believe.
Is he?
I think he's chairing the board.
Well, that's fine then.
But I haven't paid that close of attention, so.
That's fine.
When did council appoint Chad?
That would have been last year when the board was established.
When the board was established, I think?
Yeah, mid-year.
Seems to me that it would make sense just to confirm his appointment so that it gets on the annualized basis if it's that way, and if it's not annualized.
Well, to make it an annual appointment then, for review next January, I will accept your motion to reappoint Chad Nix for this year, if that has council's approval.
Yes.
Straw vote, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Churubusco Public Library Board, we have an appointment to. Ann Linville says, I have a note here, says is retiring 12/2018, so that must be open. John, do you have any knowledge of that?
I did not, just currently read it, and I do not know of anybody in the area that is interested at this time. So
I don't know.
I will get with the librarian and see if she has any suggestions.
Okay, so we'll put that off until next month.
Yes.
Be clear on that one, please. Thank you. And then the Peabody Public Library, our appointment is Anthony Gatton, and again, I am not clear. Is that a appointment until they no longer have interest or withdrawal, or is that a yearly appointment?
Mary said yesterday that if the appointment would have been up for renewal, you would have been notified prior to this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, the only
So I
way I
could
would
be
do that
wrong,
so
but I would.
somebody goes off.
I would
Okay.
assume she was here.
Well, and that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, is that we don't overlook any of these appointments that we should be addressing. So that information is good to have, and I think that we need to take better notes on what exactly and when exactly we're supposed to appoint these people. I have probably failed in that, so I will do a better job moving forward. Anything else that we need to make an appointment to? Okay, at this time, George, we will go to you for our commissioner report, please.
Okay, we had our meeting yesterday. We appointed officers again. I was appointed chair, and Commissioner Western was also voted as vice chair. We're dealing with the DCS, the Department of Child Services lease right now. They've presented a lease to us, a proposal, and we've turned that over to our attorney and also Mark Sturdivant, because there's going to have to be some repairs and upgrading done to the building. DCS wants to take over the whole building, so we're looking at opportunities for extension to determine what we're going to do with the extension. This is probably going to be a 6 to 8 month project, for the simple fact that we have to watch the 4-H fair. We're not dealing with extension at that point. So we'll work closely with extension, closely with DCS. DCS is changing directors right now, so it's a little bit of a upheaval right now. We're not sure exactly what they're going to do, but we do have the state has made it, given us an opportunity. The lease is for $6,000 a month for the building, and that's what we have to do. The utilities average about $900 a month. We also will have to do the cleaning like we do right now. But, I think it's a great opportunity for us, and we'll be able to get that building rented out and get some revenue coming from the whole building. Also, any questions on DCS building? So, okay. Right now, our main concern is we're still working with the jail overcrowding. All of the commissioners have been working with consultants and different entities at this point. We've got a couple of good plans that we're working with now. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll have a great opportunity. lot of good opportunities right now. What we're working towards right now is a population of 50 in the jail, and we're looking at technical violator facilities and mental health facilities. Instead of trying to build a new jail, $40 to $45 million jail, and fill that up. I think we've been real fortunate to the prosecutor, the judges, probation, everybody's been working with us great on this, and we've got some good opportunities. Any questions on that at all? A lot of moving parts to that one. Also, we've begun working on our health and liability insurance programs right now. We're renewal date is 7/1 of 19, so we usually start about 6 months ahead of time on that to make sure that we get enough quotes and we understand what we're getting into on that. And but we started that yesterday, and other than that, it's been a great year in 2018. We appreciate the opportunities that you've given us to work with the CETA programs, and we look forward to 2019. Oh, also, one more thing. In your packet, you've got some information for the Whitley County Commissioners that I shared with you that was given to me by our director for dispatch, and they're going to be asking for another $1 million for dispatch. So I guess I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of some of the information that we're receiving, and we may have to make some calls on dispatch and take a look at that a little differently than what we are right now. But I'm trying to make sure that you guys have the information that we have on that. We're not ready to do anything at this point, but I'm not sure that we'll be working with the council on that. Other than that, that's it. Thank you.
There was a little hesitation there, George. What's that?
That's going to be a big undertaking on that, because we have 24 dispatchers in Whitley County right now, and I think we need to take a hard look at our dispatch and maybe combining dispatch.
Makes me wonder whether we're on the right page or not. There are only 4 counties in the state that have got 2 dispatch systems, and we're one of them. Apparently, it doesn't make sense to have 2 of them.
So 24 is the 2 dispatch centers now, so you might be able to cut that in half, maybe.
Well, I don't know about half, but at least probably 6 to 8 that we can reduce, but that's it didn't have to be run by a city county board.
Right.
There's a lot of the administrative part of it is probably truly the big part of that is who runs it and how.
Who's going to be in control?
Yeah. And whose SOPs do they use?
In the newspaper this week, I see where the city council has authorized a $1 million update on that. Yeah. And our sheriff's department wants a $1 million update on ours, and
right
to do exactly the same thing. It seems like a big waste to me.
And I think that's why we have to take a hard look at this. It just back in 2015 we did a study, and at that point it really didn't make sense. But with both of us having to spend another $1 million when we already spent, each of us spent $350,000, $400,000 2 years ago for the Spillman, I think we need to take a hard look at it.
I think we do too. If I were a city resident, I would really want to take a hard look at it. They're paying for both of them.
Right. And it just makes sense because, like you say, there's only 4 counties within Indiana right now that have the 2 dispatches, and you know, we've got Kosciuszko, Huntington, DeKalb, Noble, all around us that have the single dispatch.
So you're in the process of putting a study group or a board back together to look at that?
Yeah, in March, I've talked to the mayor on this, and we're going to do a study group, and that'll start in March. didn't want to start until that point, and I can understand that. He's got a lot of things going on with the upgrading of the system that they've got, but county and the city will appoint people to look into that and look at the viability. Good things. I mean, you know, we've got to look forward. That's all of our jobs, to save money, and that's, you know, we've got to be careful with taxpayers' monies.
Good. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Another item, one of the last items we have on the agenda today is the advertising of the compensation of county officials, of all county employees that receive payroll from the county from last year. It's put in the paper. It's public notice. I have a copy of that here, certainly available for anyone to look at, but we need, or that Jana needs approval from us to publish this. Not to publish it, but to release the information. And essentially, it's just what everybody's compensation was for last year, not their entire employment compensation, but their actual salary that they were paid.
And this occurs every year.
This is an every year occurrence, yes.
And I have to post it here, the sheriff's department usually, and the courthouse, plus send it to the newspaper. And I have to also upload it to Gateway as well. It's called the 100R. So I have to upload it to the state.
So I would ask for a motion on that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Barrett and a second by Councilman Warner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand, and those opposed, the same. Let it be shown as passed unanimously with all board members present. That brings us to the minutes from last month's meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? And at this time, I would ask, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented?
I make a motion that we approve as read.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand.
I abstain.
And Tom, you will need to abstain also, since you weren't here at the meeting.
That's right.
So it passed unanimously with qualifying board members, with Councilman Warner and Councilman Kumper abstaining. Did we get the other paperwork that you were getting reprinted? Is that been given to us?
Yep.
We had that. Good. Any further business? Yes.
I will say that Wagner Irwin Shealy has provided all of the first round of drafts of the job descriptions. They've been distributed to every department, all except for the sheriff's department and dispatch. They were mailed out to us on Friday, so now we're just waiting on reviews by employees and supervisors while Wagner Irwin Shealy works on that FLSA surveys that were completed by departments. So they're right on schedule and moving forward, which is a good thing.
Very good.
This information that was in the packet about the courthouse security is kind of interesting. First time we've received that, and it's nice.
Meeting's adjourned.
We have everything that needs to be signed, Janet.
Paula?